Oh, what the heck is the paleo diet? Well, this is coming from a gal who's not a nutritionist, just someone who eats this way and is very passionate about this way of eating and has eaten this way for 4 years now. Had a paleo pregnancy, and my family, my child has eaten paleo since day one, and yeah, so this is my experience and my story, and a bit about what paleo eating is all about, and yeah, shed some insight into the diet for you if you're not totally familiar with what it's all about. So I got my rough notes here. First of all, yes, I am not a nutritionist, so if I say anything along the lines leading to make you think that this is the right choice for you, please seek out more information or seek out a health professional for yourself. I am not one. I'm going to speak about why I chose to eat this way. Now, I want to say that I never came into this diet with any health issues. At least I wasn't aware of any. I didn't choose the paleo diet because I was trying to address any current health problems I had. The only thing I would say is I was maybe suffering from a little bit of depression, and I do kind of vaguely remember wanting to address that through diet, but really I was just interested in learning about food science and what the professionals knew, and you know, what to buy in the grocery stores, and I wanted to learn more about ingredients in food and such. Started listening to podcasts and just stumbled across the paleo diet. I'd heard of it just as kind of a buzzword, a trendy thing. I didn't know anything about it, and once I started learning about it, I thought, wow, this really makes a lot of sense, and I was very attracted to it and the ideas that I was hearing. So I jumped right in, and I have not looked back, and I really feel that I will eat this way for the rest of my life. It's a vibrant, amazing, delicious way to eat that I've received many benefits from, and a lot of things have come to light in my own diet since I started eating this way. So first of all, what it is the paleo diet is basically a whole foods diet. Now, you might hear this word and think, what the hell does whole foods mean? Or you might not. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Whole foods is food. It's not processed. It doesn't come from a box or a can, but you know, I'm still eating stuff that comes from boxes and cans, but for the most part, you're focusing on meats, vegetables, fruit, nuts, and seeds, so whole foods, and as minimally processed as you can get. You know, I'm still eating tomato sauce from a can, chunked up, cut up tomatoes from a can, from boxes, you know. Anyway, so that's what I'm getting at. Okay, so another thing that's a big thing in the paleo diet is quality food. So meat, you're eating like 100% grass-fed or the best quality you can find. Do you have to eat absolutely grass-fed meat to be paleo? No, absolutely not. But I'm just emphasizing here that to really reap the benefits, the full benefits of this diet, it's good to find the best quality meat you can find, and you can still get benefits from making switches from processed food to whole food, but it's best to, if you can and you can afford it, find quality grass-fed meat. And vegetables, you know, you're eating organic and non-genetically modified vegetables. So the cleanest vegetables you can find from the cleanest soils you can find. And so that's what I mean by quality food. Also drinking quality water if you can, getting yourself a good filter. I just got myself a Berkey, which I'm pretty excited about. And so I want to talk about a few things that the paleo diet has for a bad reputation. People tend to think often that the paleo diet is a very low carbohydrate diet. And it is a diet that doesn't eat grains and legumes. So typically you are leaning towards more low carb. And but it's very different from person to person. And the pros of the paleo diet, the people at the top are going to tell you that it does vary from person to person. Some people are more closer to the ketogenic area. A lot of people go ketogenic coming off of the paleo diet, or they play around with the ketogenic diet. If you don't know what the ketogenic diet, that's a diet, this is a very superficial explanation, but that's a very high in fat and very low in carbohydrate. And again, those levels are always different for each keto person. But the paleo diet doesn't have to be necessarily super low carb. Again, changes from person to person, what the person's lifestyle is like, how much activity they do, where their blood sugars are at, how they respond to carbs. And I breastfeed, so I tend to eat more carbs, plus I have a pretty high metabolism, always haven't had the trouble keeping weight off. I've always been very slim, so I tend to be okay with some more carbs. Hasn't bothered me. Depends on which ones again. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. Another thing is this high protein, and that we only eat meat. And that's absolutely not true. It's just that the paleo diet is an advocate for healthy grass-fed meats. We don't demonize them because we recognize that meat is filled with amino acids and incredible nutrients that the body does thrive off of. So that's another thing. And because it has a reputation of being called the caveman diet, that we sit around eating ribs and drumsticks and beef all day long, which is just not true. But so a few things that have, first of all, maybe I'll just talk about what the paleo pyramid looks like, food pyramid. This is according to Eric Jacks. Some other people might not agree. I kind of see it being different from pyramid to what's at the bottom, but usually I see proteins at the bottom of the paleo pyramid, but some might say vegetables at the bottom. Paleo people eat a ton of vegetables, and various different types of vegetables and colors and different kinds. So yeah, whether meat is at the bottom or vegetables are at the bottom of that period, it might switch around. Next above that though, you're gonna have fruit and, fats is gonna be next. So meat and veg at the bottom, fats, healthy whole food fats, which tend to be fats that are solid at room temperature, butter for people who do eat dairy, lard, ghee for people who can't tolerate the proteins in dairy, coconut oil, but also avocado oil is acceptable too, and olive oil as long as you're not cooking with it at high temperatures, but staying away from processed vegetable oils, canola, soy, peanut, safflower, just those processed awful oils, which sound lovely and natural, but are actually quite toxic for the body. So, and then above that, you have your fruits and your nuts and seeds. So that's basically the paleo diet, all lovely whole foods. You're not going to see grains or legumes in there. But the thing with grains and legumes, and this is my approach to it, and this I kind of learned about from a functional medicine doctor, Chris Kresser, who seems to have a very science-based opinions and very objective and very humble guy. And he says if you can tolerate grains, whole food grains and legumes, do not make them a staple of your diet, but maybe you can eat them once or twice a week. They're definitely not as nutrient dense or as protein dense as meat is, and they seem to have a reputation for being very high in protein, but I think that's for people that don't eat meat. It's a good alternative. But typically they are not, and they're nowhere near as nutrient dense as meat. But if you do tolerate them okay, potentially they could contribute to a more diverse microbiome, which is the environment in your gut. So I'm not totally demonizing them here. I don't tend to eat a lot of them at all, but I might experiment more with that. I don't know how much they affect me. I do know though, now I'm gonna go into changes that I've experienced as I've been on the paleo diet. And this is totally sincere and true and not blown up or exaggerated. So the hugest thing I think I noticed on the paleo diet was the fact that my digestion changed. a lot. I did not know that I was chronically constipated my entire life. I only went to the bathroom probably about 3 times a week. And I remember getting tummy aches as a kid. I was also a bedwetter, and that is very much linked with constipation in kids, bedwetting and constipation. And when I went paleo, I started going to the bathroom every day, and I still do. And I attribute that to not eating grains, breads, crackers, absolutely, because that was the big shift for me. So I have much healthier bowels now. And also, not to get gross, but I'm just being real here, your bowels don't tend to smell at all when you're not eating a lot of processed food and grains and breads. The sugar in that stuff can really make you have smelly bowels and also make you have a lot of gas. I used to have much more gas than I have now, and yeah, it doesn't always smell lovely. But I barely have flatulence now, and I'm totally true. I'm being totally sincere when I say that. So I think if you're releasing gas, farting throughout your day, every day, that's telling you have a digestion issue and you're not digesting your food great and you're expelling a lot of gas. So no longer does your poop smell, or do you fart much when you go paleo. At least that's my experience. I can't say that for everyone. People can have a lot of other stuff going on in their guts too that they have to figure out. Another thing is brain health, memory, and less depression. So I attribute this to having better gut health, because they say the gut is the second brain. You have more neurons in your gut than you do in your spinal cord, and your gut sends messages to the brain. The majority of serotonin we have is made in the gut, if not all the serotonin. I'm not sure about that, again, because I'm not a professional, but your immune system is in your gut. So if you have a healthy gut, and a big reason why people aren't eating grains and legumes in the paleo diet, because those things do seem to have a reputation with wreaking havoc on the gut and digestion. So once you rid those things and you're eating a lot of vegetables, and paleo diet eats a lot of fermented vegetables as well, then you're going to have better gut health and thus better memory and less depression and mental health. So I had a much better memory. I noticed that when I was serving at a restaurant, I'd run into the kitchen to grab stock for the front of the restaurant and be like, why did I walk in here? I have no memory why I came in here. And that changed with the paleo diet, and that was a big thing I noticed. Losing my voice. Kombucha. I don't make my own kombucha. I really want to, though. Still buying this stuff from the store. Okay. So what else? I talked about the grains and legumes. So other things about the paleo diet, other foods that are really emphasized. Eggs is a big one. A lot of eggs, a common allergy. So some people can't eat eggs, but that's a really, really nutrient dense food. Again, if you can find free range pastured chickens, you're going to have more nutrients in there. And eggs are really, really rich in choline. That's very, very important for pregnant moms, and for brain development for the baby. And so eggs are really big in the paleo diet. And also, like I mentioned, fermented foods, sauerkraut, kombucha is a good one, kefir. I don't find grass-fed kefir in Canada, so I tend just to not buy it, and it also comes in plastic bottles in the grocery store, so I tend not to go there. But organ meats, they call it nose to tail eating, so eating all parts of the animal. Liver is very, very nutrient dense, and probably one of the most nutrient dense foods you can find. If you're not familiar with the term nutrient dense, it's being thrown around a lot these days. It's what it sounds like, food that's just rich full of nutrients. Cool thing about the paleo diet is it's really not just based on what we ate, hundreds of thousands of years ago. It's like the most up-to-date diet there is, I feel, that's just really at the forefront of food and science, nutrition. So that's why I'm really attracted to it, and I'm always learning more and more cool things about it. Another cool thing about the paleo diet. So yeah, I was just finished my thought on organ meats there. Liver is very nutrient dense, and I hate the taste of liver. It's disgusting, but however, I do. I don't have them on me. Here they are. I take from this brand Perfect desiccated liver capsules, and this is grass-fed liver powder, and that's a very good alternative. I think probably eating the whole food's better, but this is pretty darn good to take the liver capsules every day if you can't stomach liver. But also they're good things to eat are kidneys and brain and hearts and different things from different clean quality animals. And another cool thing about the paleo diet is the switch from carbohydrate to fats for a higher fat diet. You tend to just not be hungry as much. You can go longer hours without having to eat, or maybe you can just eat meals and not have to snack all the time. Some people play around with intermittent fasting, where they're skipping a meal, and they do really well off that. And I think a lot of ketogenic people do that too. So that's a really cool thing I noticed, and it's great that you're not being a slave to food. And with my son, my little guy, we don't do the snack thing a lot. We do when we're at home, but when we go out and about, I don't usually bring him snacks. I do sometimes throw a banana, and we'll share a banana or an apple or something, but I'm not bringing, you know, goldfish crackers or lots of these little things that people feed their kids. Though if my son is around those mums, I don't mean to say those mums, I just mean people who have crackers and other treats that they're giving their kids, my kid will scarf it down. And I usually don't slap his hand away because I don't want to give him a complex towards food, and we're not eating any of that stuff at home, so I don't worry about it too much. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. The baking, paleo baking, because you can't eat some sweets. Everyone does, you know, worse. People respond to sugars differently is what I'm trying to say, but for the most part, sugar is not a great thing to eat a ton of. But paleo focuses on healthy whole food sugars, honey, maple syrup, molasses. There's some other ones out there that are more full of nutrients and are good to sweeten your baked goods with. And there's also tons of different lovely, fun flours to play with: coconut and almond, cassava, even green plantain I've heard of, or was it green banana, flours that you can put in your baking. So you can get really creative and make these delicious things and not, you know, feel like you have to use flour for everything, wheat flour. So I could go on and on and on and about this diet. I think it's incredible. I think people on the paleo diet tend to eat, you know, a variation of what I'm talking about off a basic template. And the dairy thing, typically I would say most paleo people aren't eating dairy. Dairy is a very common food that people have issues with. I am Northern European, and that population seems to do better with digesting, I think it's casein from dairy. So I don't do too bad off dairy. I don't try not to eat too much of it. I just eat a bit of cheese, and it's grass-fed cheese that I find from Costco. And other than that, I'm not drinking any milks or anything. So yeah, but I do eat butter. I seem to do okay off that as far as I know. So dairy's kind of a gray area for paleo people. If from what I've heard, if you tolerate it, it can be very nutrient rich for you, and you can get vitamins like K2 and you know, calcium from it, and you're not eating a ton of it and just focusing on healthy quality dairy. But a lot of people don't tolerate it and just can't even do the butter or cheese or thing at all. So that's all I have to say about it. Let me know your thoughts about this, and try it out. I'm a very big advocate for it, and my son thrives off it. My little guy, he's 2 now, and my partner loves it as well. He's adopted it wholly, and it's a great way to eat. Again, I could go on and on and on about how to do this in restaurants and how to feed your kid paleo, but I'll stop for now, and we will just say goodbye. Okay, have a good day. Bye.